Hey guys, it's Bad Snacks here, and today is a little bit of modulation madness. And that is because I am going to be using the new M1 Mako by Walrus Audio. This just came out. It's a high fidelity modulation machine. So I'll be doing a little bit of an overview of how it works and how I use it as a sound design tool and how I got like a surprisingly great crispy, crunchy bass tone out of this thing. And I'm going to also be showing you guys some of my favorite patches from Unclean Machine, which is a new sonic extension by Spectrasonics, which it should be no surprise to anybody. I've been using this thing almost daily in all of my productions. I'm obsessed with some of these patches, so I'm going to be showing you some of the ones that I have been super into lately. And these two things are like a sonic match made in heaven. They work so well together. So I'll be showing you guys how I put that together, a little bit of drum programming, some Ableton Live 11 comping stuff, and yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Today's track is a free downloadable jam track that you can download the stems in the description below, and if you would like to submit to be potentially featured in one of these videos, you just have to use the hashtag SESnackstracks3, and we will be featuring some of the submissions from SE Snacks Tracks 2 at the end of this video. Y'all keep killing it. I love to see it. Let's just get right into it. So the first thing to note about this is that this is a multifunctional modulation pedal, and we have all kinds of modulation from chorus to phaser, tremolo, vibe, rotary, filter, everything. So I just want to do a little overview of some of the features that I think are really cool about the M1 so you get an idea of what it does, and I'm going to be using the Korg Minilog XD as our sound source. So the first thing that you'll notice is that there are all kinds of modulation settings on this. So let's turn this on and go to a chorus. So you'll notice if we go over to type, there are 3 types of each one of these modulation banks. So this is type 1 of the chorus, type 2, type 3. Same thing with phaser, 1, 2, 3. So with each one of these, we also have our standard modulation knobs and settings like rate and depth, but you'll notice that there is a lo-fi knob. This is basically a mix of every parameter that is written in yellow, and you can affect these parameters by hitting down this button and then making sure that the switch is on the parameter that you want to affect. So for instance, this one is going to affect space. Hit that down, adjust it. And all of a sudden we have this really luscious sounding reverb on it. And let's say that I wanted to adjust the age of this. Turn that up. And let's say that I wanted to adjust the overall mix of these parameters. So the other neat thing about the M1 is that it has a bunch of onboard presets. We have 3 preset banks here, A, B, and C. We're going to go to A. And our first preset is this red one. Second one is green. Third one is blue. And you can recall more presets if you have this MIDI integrated, by the way. So that is the basic overview of this pedal. It is a multifunctional modulation pedal with a ton of details that I keep discovering. And now I just want to show you how I use it in context. Okay, so I want to record a couple different passes of different textures through the M1, but what I want to do is I want to send this MIDI to my Minilog so that the Minilog is basically playing just this chord progression and I can keep my hands free. So the way that I do this on Ableton is I do it through external instrument, and I have the Mio USB to MIDI interface, and so the MIDI is going to and from the Minilog here, and then the audio is being triggered from the synth, and I have it routed into inputs 3 and 4, and so I just reflect that in the audio track here. So now if I play this MIDI chord progression, it should be going straight into the synth, and then the synth will be recording audio. So without anything on it, it sounds like this. So now that we have that all set up, it makes it really easy to record a couple different passes with the M1 on it. So let's do some exploring here.
A few moments later.
Nice. And then I'm going to extend the take lanes. And now I have all of these different takes. And if I just hit B with my marking tool, I can just change up the textures like halfway through these progressions. So I'm kind of just painting a little bit, so to speak, and I'll edit this, but just to show you guys, it can sound a little bit like this. And that's the basis of this track essentially. So the drums for this are actually super simple. I just did a drag and drop of one shots, and all of these sounds are from a Kayla Maestro pack, who is super dope. And here is my kick and snare pattern, so I'm gonna solo my kicks and my snares. So you can hear that it's basically just a kick, snare, with the occasional little accented ghost kick in there, if you want to call it that. And then I put in some hi-hats that are a little bit emphasized on the first hi-hat and then de-emphasized on the second one. Sounds like this. Then in terms of mixing, this is the combo I've been going with a lot lately, which is throwing a drum bus on there, kind of tightening up the transients, and then throwing some good Hertz Wolf compressor on here. Sounds like this. And then we throw in Battle of Wits. So we have Battle of Wits, which is an ARP and BPM drum machine type patch. And I'm on scene 1, which I kind of like. But I like scene 2 a little bit more because you can hear the outline of the chords that I'm playing, which is really nice. And then just changing up the pattern here, just to pattern 2. And I actually like this a lot, so I think I'm just going to bring down the noise a little bit. Maybe boost the saturation just to give it a little bit more bite. And take down the hiss only because we're using a lot of Unclean Machine today. We don't want it to accumulate too much, but just enough. And I'm pretty happy with that. So all together sounds like this. So now let's add in everything else. Okay, so we have scene 1 for the CZ Cheddar organ. So throwing the swell up on the envelope, the vibrato depth, and then finding a balance with the octaves and kind of overtones of the organ itself. Throwing the key click down to smooth it out, throwing a glide on there. I don't think it does much for this patch, but it's fine. And then throwing the reverb down. I'm gonna throw the drift up and the wax down just to kind of get rid of some of that noise and then get rid of the hiss. And then just adjusting the color to make it sound a little bit more full-bodied. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm gonna use that. This is one of my favorite patches from Unclean Machine. This one is Gamer Quarters. This one is the second. And I'm gonna go to scene 1, which is cool. Kind of reminds me of Pokemon. This one's also really nice. And I really liked pattern C. And now I'm just gonna bring the timer down a little bit to mellow it out, make it feel a little bit more subtle. Give it a little push, throw some reverb on there to give it a little bit more atmosphere. And bringing down the hiss, and then throwing up the high cut just so that it cuts through a little bit more. And in context sounds like this. So here is my dry tone. If I turn the pedal on, and I'm gonna just bring it over to chorus. And if I go over to this switch, then we can go through the different types of chorus. There are 3. So I wanna go to type 2. And then I'm going to bring the lo-fi knob up, which brings the drive up. And I'm pretty stoked with that tone. So in terms of a lead, I am pretty obsessed with this patch. This one is called Ascension of the Flutes, and I use scene 2 pretty consistently. I already love how it sounds, but I just want to zhuzh it up a little bit, and so I am throwing it through a Echo Boy bus. Here I have it at a ping pong delay, 8th note, dotted quarter note, and if I throw the signal basically all the way up to 0, then it sounds like this. Which works out really well for this melody.
Oh.